On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Dale Denham about technology, managing a large team, and why you should jump out of a plane. Hey everybody, it's time once again for another episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. My guest this week is the CIO of Geiger and a newly elected board member of PPAI, the Promotional Products Association. I want to welcome you, Dale, and thank you so much for taking the time.
That's my pleasure. Nice to be on.
Awesome. Well, as we said, you're the CIO, and if I understand correctly, you're the first IT person, director ever to be on the PPAI board. So obviously technology is a big piece of what you do. For folks who aren't the CIO, why is it important to stay on top of technology, which is changing all the time?
So the first answer to that is, there's two parts really. The first answer to that is, we all have to know what part of technology we should be very good at. Like, I need to learn how to speak a little bit better, evidently. The technology that's important to probably most of the viewers of your show is going to be the personal efficiency technology. And I've seen people who take all sorts of time to spend time and energy to learn about all this stuff, and then they never have time to implement it. So I am a big believer in people should know a lot about technology, but then they should pick the ones that work for them and really invest in there. So in general, I believe that the personal technology is what people need to know about for you. So do I really need to upgrade my Windows? Those type of things. Those are questions you can ask someone like me or somebody that your cousin, your nephew, you know, the younger generation coming up. People spend too much time getting excited about technology and looking at the latest app, and I do that on occasion, but that's partially my job, is to look through that stuff.
Right.
Most people watching this are in some sort of sales or marketing role, and they need to be saying, okay, how does technology affect my business? That's where the part two comes in. And this is one area that I do passionately believe that your audience needs to be paying more attention to. Okay. And that is the fact that the biggest swing in advertising dollars is moving to digital. And so not to understand digital advertising means you don't understand your competition. We're not competing with another promotional products distributor or another person selling some other piece of advertising. People are moving their budgets from what they've been spending to online advertising. We need to do a much better job in our industry of understanding that, so we can help our clients by making a nice package of not just promotional products or other marketing, but showing them how it fits with their online marketing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point there at the beginning, I think people lose sight of the fact that technology is supposed to make your life easier. That's the whole point. And to make sure that you're utilizing it that way is pretty important. So it occurs to me, and one of the things that was told to me about you is that you have a big hand in managing the team at Geiger. What's the secret to managing a large team like that?
Well, at Geiger, we have lots of different great leaders. And so when you look at the size of Geiger, I have to say the secret for Geiger is Gene Geiger. And I'll give you other secrets as well. But Gene is a great CEO because he finds good people and lets them be who they are and lets them be very good. And then that lets his good people do the same with each of our staff. So for me, it's as simple as being in alignment with each other at whatever level of the organization you are, and your top CEO is the one who determines whether or not each individual person is either the right person and then allowed to be the right person that you've hired. And if you try to change somebody too much, then you probably need to find somebody else. So the secret, I suppose, is alignment between all the different managers, whether they're in sales, whether they're in IT, whether they're in marketing. And we use, at Geiger, we use the lean methodology, which is from Toyota. And it includes a very neat tool, probably the most important tool from us to be in alignment, is called an X matrix. And so we set our corporate X matrix goals, our business unit X matrix goals, our departmental goals, and everything has to align both to a 1-year and ultimately a 3-year strategy. And so anybody who's watching this who is working with larger teams, having an X matrix really allows you to talk intelligently about what your goals are. And then as the year goes on and things come up, lets you remind yourself what you said was important 6 months ago. So it's a little bit of a business plan, but it's also a tool to just keep priorities straight. Now, we don't live and die by it, but pretty much it drives everything we do. But as with any business, you can't foresee everything. So I guess the short answer is alignment between your peers is what makes a large team function well.
Yeah, and that's interesting because whether it's through the X matrix or through anything else, I find that even people who are good at saying, writing down, hey, this is what we want to be, this is my goals, whatever, so many times they do it and then they put it away. Having it as a tool to refer to, I think, really makes that much more powerful.
And one of the things we do is we start most of our staff meetings, I won't say all, but most of them, with a review of the top level goals. We don't go over all the metrics below them, but we remind ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. And if that meeting's not going to cover one of those things, at least that's in the thought of the meeting.
I like that a lot. That's really good. So as I was doing a little research, and for the benefit of those, you and I have this is the first time we're talking. So I did a little research. And how do I do research? Facebook, right? And I saw that you recently finished a Savage race. And I like to run, and I'm pretty active, and have done different mud runs and stuff. So what inspired? First of all, congratulations on finishing.
Thank you.
And then what inspires you to try those new kind of things?
I turned 44 this week, and one of the things I have always said is, when I grow up, I want to be a really old man. And so I try to keep doing things that prevents me from becoming old too soon. I also last year lost a ton of weight so that I could train for a marathon. And so this was just kind of part of that. And it's a little like technology. I'm at that point where, I like my Microsoft Windows because I've used it for so long. And it's making me realize I probably ought to go buy a Mac and force myself to use it for a year, because we all become very comfortable. And that's part of what happens when we get older. And I've got 4 very young kids that I don't want to be that old dad. And I want to be able to say, I know what's going on and I want to be healthy. So my kids inspire me, but also just the fact, and my father is 70 and acts like he's 50 and physically like he's 50. And I kind of like that. So it's not just the Savage race, although that is one of those things. And the Savage race was kind of like, it was a team building thing to do with some friends, but it was also a healthy thing. But it's also like, that's something I've never done before. And maybe I'll find something I like and it will push my comfort without being too dangerous. Like, I've jumped out of a plane before, but that was before kids. Now I'm going to do it like George Bush did when he was, his 80th birthday. That's probably the next time I'll jump out of a plane.
I really like that because I have a similar philosophy, and I think that there's something for life there, but also with business, because I think, in life we become complacent.
Absolutely.
And in business, I think sometimes we have to force ourselves to, hey, you know what? This is a little uncomfortable, but I still need to do it, even if I fail. And I think that sometimes we don't want to do that.
That's so important, in particular with technology, because with technology, it changes. The moment you make a technology decision, there's a better decision out there you just don't know of yet.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very careful. And that's probably true in the marketing world as well. You'll never have the perfect piece.
Right.
So, 2 months later, you'll look at it and go, I could have done this differently and it would have been better. Yes, that's why we got to keep doing different things to challenge our thinking. And by the way, I don't do it just sports and I don't just technology. I try to read books that I disagree with too for that same purpose.
I totally agree. That's cool. Well, hey, that was our 3 questions. So thank you so much. Now it's your opportunity to ask me a question. So I'll give the floor to you. Okay.
Well, we kind of met online through me publishing the Online 18 earlier this year.
Right.
And in doing that, you didn't make my Online 18, which means you weren't on my radar, because in looking at it, you probably would have.
Right.
And so we have been chatting back and forth since then. And I'm going to be putting together a new Online 18 for next year. And this is just a Dale Denham thing. It's not sponsored by anybody else, but it's to try to create an influential group of people that are online that spread good information in this industry. Last year, sad to say, Dana Zezzo was #1, and Dana's my buddy, and I think he's your buddy.
Absolutely.
And I told him it killed me to put a #1, but he was #1 according to his Clout Score. Good news is your Clout Score is now higher than Dana's, and so good job to you. And I don't know what's happened to Dana, but he's slipping. You know, maybe all that time in South Carolina or in those hotels is finally getting to him. But either way, you've got a Clout Score of about 61, I think, when I looked at it. Who else in the industry, whether they're on the Online 18 or not, do you look at online that we should be considering for the Online 18 for next year?
Boy, great question. And let me just say, that was really cool because the idea of introducing influencers within our industry, quite frankly, is part of the goal of this show. So so thank you for putting that out. And yeah, you taught me something. I'd never heard of Clout until you did that. I'll plead ignorance on that. So thanks for doing that. Boy, there's a lot. I think some great voices, and I think you probably know several of the ones I'll mention. Of course, Paul Bellantone is one that I lean on. I'm going to try and get him on here. Mark Graham is a person who's been on this show before. It's a couple off the radar. Let me give you a couple that I kind of lean toward right now that I think are doing some good things online. Nathan Bailey. Nathan Bailey is a distributor out on the West Coast, and he's a neat guy. He did a whole blogging series on putting the phone down for a month. So he'd be worth looking into, and just as an experiment. So he was kind of cool. And Roger Burnett, I think, is a really interesting guy, and he's another guy I'm going to try and get on here. Tiffany Tarr comes to mind, and I think to your point, I think this is where maybe we can get some input from other people who watch the show, because I think there's other people in the industry who I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that probably have a lot to offer as well. So those are some a few, I guess I would say. I hope that helps.
Cool.
All right.
Great.
Well, thanks again, Dale. I really appreciate you taking the time, and good luck as you go toward your new endeavor on the PPAI board. I wish you the best, and congratulations on that. But thanks so much for being a part of it. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.